This is question 1 of your physics exam. The first question asks you why it is at position D, that's up here, this roller coaster will have the greatest potential energy, and it says explain why using the equation, and that's the key thing, use the equation to do this. So this equation tells us that gravitational potential energy depends on the mass on G, that's gravity or gravitational field strength, which we know is fixed at 10, and H, the height. So you have to work out which of those three things will be different at D, and this roller coaster car will still have the same mass, so it can't be M. G won't change, so the only thing possible is H. So what you have to say is that at point D, H, this quantity, is at its greatest value, so GPE will be at its greatest value. So height at D is greatest. Second part of this question, part B, the hint here is that you've just answered one question using this equation, so it makes sense to do the same thing for the next question. And in this case we know that momentum equals mass times velocity. So why would Joseph think that the roller coaster car at W has no momentum? And you're meant to think that the car W is empty, it's got no people in it, so it's something to do with the mass of the car. But of course the car still has some mass, even though it's empty, the car still weighs something. And so because the car has mass, it still has no momentum. So the answer is no, and that is because W has mass, even when it's empty. The most common mistake, those of you who got near to this, was to say W has weight. And unfortunately, weight is not the same thing as mass, and it is mass that appears in the equation. So the answer about weight, sadly, was incorrect. The third part of this question is about the padded harness in the roller coaster. And you have to realise you haven't been taught about padded harnesses on this course, so this must be about something else. And of course the padded harness in the roller coaster does the same job as a seatbelt or an airbag does in a car, so we use the same physics to explain. So we say the padded harness increases the stopping time, or you could say increases the time it takes for the person to stop, and as a consequence that reduces the force acting on them. So the 2 marks come from there and from there. You could also say that it increases the stopping distance. That would also be an acceptable answer. Increase stopping distance, and you need to get at least 2 of those points in order to get the mark. Sadly, writing about energy will not do, so if you talked about kinetic energy or anything like that, you get no marks at all for that question.